have a part of you that you don't like? Do you have a part of you that you wish you could cut off? Like if there was a surgical procedure that you could go through to get rid of this one part of you, you would sign up for. Absolutely. After maybe years of therapy, you're like, okay, I accept me for me, but if I could just get rid of this part of me, because it gets in the way, or I don't like how it impacts me internally or others, man, I just want to get rid of it. Then this video is for you. Today we're going to talk about how to embrace the parts of you that you don't like. How to do that. It's a challenge. It can be a challenge when we don't really understand truly the function of the different parts of us. And yes, I'm here to tell you that we have different parts of us. Yes, we are one person, we are one being, but we have multiple parts of us. We are complex human beings. That's the way we're made. It can be even frustrating at times because we often have conflicting parts, or parts that seem to feel very opposite things at the same time. There could be parts that even hold conflicting beliefs, and people may even make judgments about us or we've maybe even made judgments about others because they seem hypocritical, because they have a part of them that believes this, but they behave this way. Well, it's because we're complex and we have different parts of us, and the function of each part of us is protection. Yes, protection. We have parts of us that are working diligently to make sure we're safe, emotionally safe, physically safe. If there are any things that these parts feel could get in the way of our safety, they step in to protect us. They step in to protect us proactively and reactively. They step in. They make sure we're safe. Now, what can be aggravating, annoying to some of our parts is that what usually happens is, out of protection, what these parts do out of protection is that they do create the situation they're trying to avoid. It can be so frustrating. It can be so frustrating if we have a part of us that is a perfectionist. This perfectionist part is making sure we dot every I, we cross every T, we go over and beyond. It's usually perfectionistic parts are protecting us from shame, because we believe that if we get it right all the time, then we are good. That we are good. And what happens is we usually feel like our value is constantly in the court of opinion, and even in the court of our internal board of directors, because we are constantly working over and over and over and over again to make sure everything is perfect and it's right, and nothing we do will be good enough, because we know at the end of the day we can never get it right. We're human, we're fallible, we make mistakes. And so our perfectionistic part, even though it is working to protect us from feeling that shame, it creates the situation that is working so diligently to avoid. So we understand the function. The function of our parts is protection. And that's one of the steps to truly help us to understand and embrace the parts of us that we don't like. When we understand the function is protection, that there's noble intent. There is a noble intent to the part that helps us to even give a listening ear to this part, to get curious, which is the next step, to get curious about, I'm curious, perfectionistic part, I'm curious as to how long how long you've been doing this job for me. I'm curious as to the story in which develop the beliefs of the work that you feel you have to do in order to protect me from shame. And I'm curious about what thoughts and beliefs that you have about me and about the world. They often come from a very young place, our protectors do, and we develop them in childhood and even sometimes through adolescence and adulthood. But oftentimes, our parts are very young and they're carrying some very fast and hard rules about what we need to do and how we need to show up to be safe. To be safe in a work environment, to be safe in a relationship, to be safe with our families, to be safe with our friends. They have very hard, fast rules about that. And so we have to, in order to embrace these parts of us, get curious about how they developed and what beliefs they have. Once we understand and hear their story, as an internal family systems, we actually connect directly. We connect directly with the parts of us that we don't like, or the parts of us that we need attention, that are getting our attention or trying to get our attention. We connect directly with them internally. Oftentimes in traditional talk therapy, we talk about parts. We talk about the perfectionism. We talk about how it's exhausting. We talk about, and that's usually from another part that's talking about it, about how it's so frustrating. It's so hard to keep up with this part of me that is overworking myself to be perfect, when we know logically I cannot be perfect. And we talk about the part, we analyze the part. But in internal family systems, we connect directly to the part so that we can get curious and from a genuine place. Now, what happens when we do get curious? We really come to understand this part, because oftentimes we are viewing a part of us from a lens of a part of us that doesn't like this part, right? So we talked about in talk therapy, there's this part that is frustrated with our perfectionism. Can't she just get it right? Can't we just realize that we need a break? We can't be perfect all the time. This is exhausting. That sounds like it's coming from maybe a critical place, right? There may be a critical part, or a part that has a very high sense of right and wrong, or even a logical part that's saying this doesn't make sense. We have this part of us that is trying to be perfect, and we know we can't be perfect. Well, when we see our parts, the part of us that we don't like, we're usually seeing it through the lens of another part. A part of us that's critical, a part of us that is logical, a part of us that has a high sense of right and wrong, or inner judge. We see our parts through the lens of these parts, which aren't very accurate. They're usually coming from a space of annoyance, because it's making their jobs harder to protect us. It's usually coming from a space where they're making some assumptions. They don't have all the information. And that's why getting curious is so important, so that we can really understand why this part is working so hard to protect us in this way, and what its story is. Oftentimes, our younger parts have memories that we have long forgotten or even repressed. Oftentimes, too, there are parts of us that have created distance, emotional distance, from the parts of us that are younger, that are working so hard, and that are holding the pain that we've experienced in our childhood. And so we have to get curious from a real place. We have to get curious, and I'm saying from a real place, because our parts know when we are not curious. Our parts know when we aren't coming from a place that is warm, that is this compassionate, that wants to hear the story. When we're coming from a place where we think we know, and we're coming from a place of annoyance, our parts know, because that interaction is familiar, right? That internal struggle that we have, between the part of us that wants to be perfect and the part of us that logically knows that can never be, that part, that's familiar. it deals with that on a regular basis. And so when we come from a place of self energy, when we come from a place that has compassion, that has understanding, intuitive understanding and curiosity, a place of wonder, like I wonder what is it? That is when we can have a open ear and an open heart to hear and receive and be present for the parts of us that we don't like, to embrace them, Then, and only then, can we have a genuine appreciation for these parts. When we realize their story, how long they've been doing this job to protect us, if we're just getting to know this part and 40, 50 years old, and this part's been working since we were 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, we appreciate how long it's been doing this job to protect you. We can then appreciate too why it felt it was necessary to protect you in this way. That will help you to embrace these parts of us that we don't like, but they are part of you. Man, we can't have a surgical procedure. We cannot have a surgical procedure to cut out the part of us that is a perfectionist. Why can't we do that? If we do that, then we cut out a huge part of who we are. And we don't take advantage of the beautiful gift of self-acceptance. And we don't give that to the part of us that needs it. Our parts are looking diligently for acceptance, acknowledgement, and they want to be heard. They want to be heard by us. So, how do we embrace the parts of us that we don't like? We have to understand the function that they're trying to protect us. We have to get curious. We have to lean in and hear their experiences, hear their story. We have to. Once we do that, it will automatically evoke appreciation and an embrace. It goes to a deeper level of self-acceptance and a deeper level of self-love when we do that. If you are curious at all about internal family systems, my name is Alicia Jackson. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I am also an IFS therapist. I have a playlist of many videos about internal family systems on my channel. Feel free to peruse them. If you're at all interested in keeping in contact or connection with this content, feel free to like the video and, of course, subscribe to the channel, as I am continuing to provide content regarding internal family systems, getting to know you, all of your parts of you, and how they function, how they show up to protect you. Let me know how your journey has been with embracing the parts of you that you don't like. It's a journey. It truly is. This healing process is truly a journey, one that is rewarding. And of course, if you don't know anything else, you are definitely worth the work. And as always, be cool, be calm, be centered.